do want to bring Steve Forbes and Ed Rensi into all of this. See, the argument is that, and I agree with Lou in this respect about all politicians, sort of dance and they sort of move and their positions change. The argument with Donald Trump was that he was going to be in your face and maybe appeared to be doing less of that. If it appears that he does maybe more of that than we thought, will that hurt him? What do you think?
Well, I think it's partially a matter of timing. If I was advising him, I would have told him, wait until you wrap up the nomination before reaching out to the center in a general election. And Ronald Reagan, while he had very strong core opinions and principles, also knew that life doesn't go in a straight direction when you're being a political leader. So it's a matter of timing and then how you do it. The embarrassment over the H-1B visas shows that they hadn't thought that thing fully through. So if you're going to signal that you're going to encompass more and more people, I would have started with the tax plan, which is not bad. I wish he'd gone with the flat tax and gone from there. So it's timing, how you do it, and you got to think this thing through.
Well, Ed Rensi, on that point,
he should wait till March 15th.
Okay, well, that begs this other issue that's come up, and it's just my opinion. I could be very wrong. Is he jumped the gun a little bit and was starting to pivot toward the general election, maybe prematurely, with positions that might bring him back slightly to the middle, and he did that too soon. And I'm wondering if that could hurt him. What do you think?
Well, I think it's hurt him partially, but I think the real thing was the timing was off. He should have waited a couple of weeks or a month.
Ed Rensi, what do you think of that, that he should have waited, that now was not the time to jump the gun?
Well, I think that this country is in a lot of trauma right now, and they've been the victim of really bad policies in government. And we need somebody to stand up for the average guy on the street and say enough is enough. And Trump has hit a chord.
Amen.
He needs to stay the true track that he's on. There's plenty of time for compromise, and he knows how to compromise. He's not my personal choice because I think he's crass and crude in a lot of ways, but the man's got a wisdom and an instinct for the common man, and people better start paying attention to him. I don't care what the numbers say. You've got to look at the emotion of the common man on the street today. They're fed up with government.
Let me say, he's got, Ed, something else, too. I mean, he may be, not maybe, he is brilliantly intuitive on a host of business issues and has built a fortune. One of the reasons I don't worry about some of this wishy-washy stuff that Dagan does is because I've seen the man actually build something over the course of the last 30 years. It's remarkable. But to Ed's point, this is a time for him to return to his retail roots and say, you know what? We're not going to treat men and women like this. We are, to go to Ben Stein's point, talk about work. Let's talk about work, because we don't respect work any longer in this country. This is a country that actually listens to nonsense spewed by George W. Bush, by the way, in which he said there are jobs Americans won't do. That's hogwash. There should be absolute respect for every job in this country. That's capitalism. It's not corporatism, but it's capitalism.
He as the messenger hurting his message. Steve Forbes, that's
no question
what I'm wondering here, and whether it's going to come back to bite his hiney. Now, he might survive the night by evening up the caucus and primary breakdown by winning Louisiana, where he has a sizable lead early on. We're way far from calling it for him. But what do you think of that?
Well, after a tough debate performance, and it was not a good one, I was at CPAC. A lot of his supporters were rolling their eyes. What in the world is going wrong tonight? If he can come out of Saturday 2 for 4, not bad. The big one is obviously on Tuesday, which you talked about, which is Michigan.
Yeah.
If he wins Michigan.
But what if he doesn't? What if he doesn't win Michigan? Right now there's a poll out that shows him trailing there.
Well, that poll has had some outlier results in the past and has not always been accurate. I've known it for over 20 years, so I wouldn't put too much stock in that one. And I think, given the fluidity of the situation,
you got it dead right 4 years ago. So I guess what I'm asking, I don't want to overstate it. If it's a trendsetter, if it shows a trend, because other polls, local sources, the Detroit Free Press has showed his lead shrinking, albeit not a turnaround like that.
Yeah, well, this is where you show the American people leadership capabilities. This is true of all of the candidates, 3 of whom face the gallows if they don't improve in the next 2 weeks. Political gallows, I should say.
Yeah.
But when you face a crisis or a bump in the road, how do you respond to it? How do you change your game? How do you get
well,
the
he
thing
might not
back on
change
track?
anything because he doesn't see this as a bump in the road. And we should just bring you up to
well,
this.
that's another sign of leadership.
All right, I got you.
Your pressure on
I'm with you every step of the way.
And you don't give it up.
I beg you to stop because I want to bring people up to date here. I've got Kansas going right now for Ted Cruz. I've got Maine going for Ted Cruz. Kentucky looks like it is going for Donald Trump. And at this hour, way, way, way too early to tell. To your point, Steve, I didn't mean to jump on that. Just to point out that he is leading there, Donald Trump there. So that would be a 2-2 kind of a split with anyone's guess how in the end it sorts out Tuesday night. If he can escape this kind of even Steven, I would imagine he's in good shape. That is Donald Trump, right? Or Steve.
Well, if he comes out of 4 caucuses, or 3 caucuses, closed caucuses, and does fairly well on Saturday tonight, that's not bad, given the trip up he had in the debate on Thursday night. And again, the key thing is what happens on Tuesday. And if he looks like he's floundering as a candidate, that's not going to be good. So if he decides, here's what I'm going to do from here on in the next 2 weeks, sticks to it, and triumphs in more contests than not, that means people are going to say, this guy can handle a crisis. This guy can handle the pressures of a political campaign. I've been in a couple of these things. You feel you're out there alone, enormous pressures coming in, you're getting hit from all sides, and the American people want to see, how do you handle it? And can Marco Rubio change his game plan? He's in deep trouble.
Yeah, I don't know what his game plan would be, to your point. Steve, I want to thank you. Ed, whatever happened, I apologize. I want to thank you as well.